Have you noticed how something that once felt so exciting in Marvel now feels like homework? That's the problem Disney absolutely must avoid with Star Wars. Marvel started out brilliantly. The early MCU films were simple, fresh, and easy to follow. You could walk into Iron Man, the Avengers, or Guardians of the Galaxy without needing a PhD in comic book lore, and that's exactly why it worked. Fans felt welcomed into this world, not overwhelmed by it. But now, the Marvel Universe has become a maze, a web of characters, timelines, and alternate realities that even the most dedicated fans struggle to keep up with. And this is where Star Wars must tread very carefully. Let's start with the biggest culprit, the multiverse. What began as a fun what-if concept has spiraled into a confusing mess. For casual fans, it's almost becoming impossible to know what counts, what's real, and what matters. In the multiverse of madness, we're introduced to countless alternate versions of characters. In Spider-Man No Way Home, it worked, but it was built on nostalgia. But Marvel keep coming back to it, and suddenly nothing feels permanent. If anyone can return in some alternate version, do character arcs even matter anymore? Star Wars already has its own version of this with the World Between Worlds. We saw it introduced in animated projects, and it returned briefly in Ahsoka. It's a fascinating concept, but it's also incredibly dangerous. If handled wrong, it could unravel everything. If Star Wars starts using it like Marvel uses the multiverse, resurrecting characters, changing timelines, erasing consequences, fans will lose the emotional connection that makes these stories powerful. Sacrifices and choices only matter when they're permanent. Another Marvel mistake is the requirement to watch everything just to understand what's going on. If you skip a Disney Plus show, suddenly a movie feels incomplete. Characters show up with no explanation, storylines continue in places you didn't even know existed. A great example is WandaVision. If you missed it, Doctor Strange 2 made little sense. Wanda went from grieving mother to full-blown villain without context. That left casual viewers scratching their heads. Star Wars must be careful not to fall into this trap. Yes, shows like The Mandalorian, Bad Batch, and Ahsoka add depth, but the films need to stand on their own. You shouldn't need to binge 40 hours of animated television to understand a new movie. Ahsoka Season 1 was a good step forward here. Even if you never watched Rebels, the show gave you just enough context to enjoy the story. That accessibility has to continue if Star Wars is going to bring in new fans. Then there's Marvel's problem of teasing without payoff. How many characters have been introduced and then forgotten about? Harry Styles, brother of Thanos, is a prime example. He appeared in a post-credit scene, hyped up as a big deal, and then nothing. Years later, no follow-up, no explanation. The Eternals film itself introduced an entire new team, suggested they'd reshape the future of Marvel, and then they're vanished into thin air. This kind of storytelling isn't exciting, it's frustrating. Fans don't want endless setups with no payoff. They want satisfying arcs and meaningful resolutions. Star Wars has to be careful here. Every new character, every tease, every mystery box should have a purpose. Otherwise, it risks the same backlash Marvel has faced. But maybe Marvel's biggest mistake of all is quantity over quality. At one point, Marvel was releasing multiple movies and shows within the same year. Fans barely had time to finish one project before another dropped. The result? Burnout. Too many projects spread too thin, with weaker writing, rushed CGI, and stories that don't feel essential. Star Wars has flirted with this before. When Disney first bought Lucasfilm, it pushed out The Force Awakens, Rogue One, The Last Jedi, Solo, and The Rise of Skywalker all within just 4 years. And what happened? Audiences already got tired. Solo underperformed, and Disney hit the pause button on theatrical releases. Thankfully, they seem to have learned. Star Wars has slowed down, with fewer releases and more attention on making each one count. But as the franchise ramps up again with multiple films and shows in development, they must remember, fans don't want more Star Wars, they want better Star Wars. And let's not forget one more Marvel misstep: alienating casual fans. Marvel became so tangled in its own continuity that walking into a theatre without doing homework felt impossible. If Star Wars does that, it risks shutting out new generations. The beauty of Star Wars has always been that anyone can jump in, whether it's the original trilogy, the prequels, The Mandalorian. Each entry should feel like a gateway. Looking ahead at new projects like the new movie in 2027, starring Ryan Gosling as a starfighter pilot, these are the perfect opportunities to get this right. A clean slate, a brand new story, no baggage from past characters. That's how you bring in fresh fans while exciting long-time viewers. A balance of accessibility and depth. So what's the lesson? Marvel fell into the trap of chasing expansion for expansion's sake. They confused complexity with quality, and it turned their universe into a chore. Star Wars can avoid that fate by focusing on clear storytelling, meaningful stakes, and accessibility for all fans, casual and hardcore alike. Because Star Wars should never feel like homework. It should feel like an adventure. And above all, it should feel timeless. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that, then check out our recent video and hit subscribe so you never miss another Star Wars discussion.